Hello, Mr. Stone here, and I'm going to show you how to create a histogram using Excel. So the first thing we've got here is just 25 data values, not sorted in any way, and we're going to use these to make our histogram. So the first thing we need to do is we need to take all of our data values. I'm going to just click and drag here to select them all. I'm going to click up here on this Data tab, and then I'm going to go to this A over the Z with an arrow down next to it. That's going to sort from the smallest to largest. I click that. There's all my data sorted. And I'm just going to make a couple notes here. This is our minimum data value, and then all the way down here is going to be our maximum value of 47. So let's say that we're going to divide this up into 5 classes. Okay? And for class width, we need to use our formula of the maximum value, which we said is 47, minus the minimum value, which is 25, all divided by the number of classes, which in this case is 5. That is going to equal 4.4. Okay? And 4.4 would work, but it's not very convenient. So we can round up. We can't really round that down ever. But we can round up, and we're going to round it up to 5, because that's a nice number to work with. It's the next integer we've got up to. So I've got my class width, I've got my data values here. Let's go ahead and make our lower class limits. And to do that, we'll use our minimum data value, which is 25. And then for our next one, we're just going to add 5, because that is our class width. So 25 plus 5 is 30. 30 plus 5 is 35. Keep going until we've got all 5 of our classes. Now Excel wants to use our upper class limits. So now that we've got our lower class limits, we're able to figure out what our upper class limits are going to be. If we're starting at 25 and our next lower class limit is 30, we really are just filling in the gap. So if we take our first class, go from 25 to 29, that fills in everything there. Similarly, we're going to go from 30 to, we can't go to 35, but we can go to 34. Fill in the pattern, we're going to see that when we fill in the gaps, we actually are just adding 5 to our first and then previous upper class limits. So when we add 5 to 44, we're going to take our last class all the way to 49. Now I can hit the actual keys that will make the histogram for us. I'm going to hit Data Analysis up here. I'm still on the Data tab. I'm going to hit Data Analysis, and I'm going to look up here. I'm going to find the one that says Histogram, and I'm going to click OK. Now Input Range. I'm going to click in this Input Range box, and then I'm going to move over to my data values. I'm going to click and drag until I get all of my data values in here, and that's full. Bin range. When it talks about bin, Excel is really talking about your upper class limit. So I'm going to click in this box, and then I'm going to click upper class limits, and I'm going to get all of my upper class limits in there. And that is really it. I've got my data values in the input range, and I've got my upper class limits in the bin range. I'm going to click OK. That's going to create a new sheet for us. Now notice we've got this bottom thing down here. It says more. We really are not going to use that, so we can highlight that, the whole row there. I'm going to click and dragging. I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to hit delete, and then it gives me an option here. My second one says shift cells up. Let's do that. Okay, so that's out of the way, and notice how you've got your frequencies all here. Excel did the counting for us, which can really be helpful when you're dealing with a large number of data. So let's just drag over all this, and then it's going to give a little pop-up button here. We click that, quick analysis. We're going to go to the second option here that says charts. And the first choice we've got is clustered column. Click that. Boom. Okay, now we're given something to work with here. There's a few things that we've got to do, and then we'll be all set. First of all, notice that our labels down here are just for one number. Okay, our lower class limits are not involved here. we want to change that so we have that accurately reflected, but that's an easy fix. Go up to your bin and it says 29, right? Remember our first class had a lower class limit of 25, so we can just click in the input box up here to the left, 25, give a dash, 29, and then it's going to be reflected right down there. We can fix all of these by adding in a lower class limit, and we are all labeled. One other thing we need to do is we need to double click these columns. We're going to change the gap width. Usually histograms have no gaps in between these columns. So see how the gap width here by default is 219%. We're just going to slide that all the way to 0. And we're all set. Go ahead and save that file by clicking up here and get it something that you can have access to, and you're all set. That is how to make a histogram. Now go ahead and try making your own. Good luck with it. Have fun.